It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot woot. Hi everyone, this is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited that you are joining us for another Must Sew TV. Today we are talking about the Sea Turtle collection from Aurifil. So this beautiful capsule has 3 beautiful threads in it, and these sea turtles come from the location of the Mesoamerican Reef, coastal East Africa, Coral Triangle, the Galapagos, Gulf of California. They are endangered, and population of 85 to 90,000 nesting females. The colors that we have today are 2908, 1147, and 2890. Let's just take a peek at them because they are so luscious. So we have these 3 beautiful colors. So the 2809 is sort of minty, and then 1147 maybe a little chartreusey, and then 2890 this true kind of Kelly green. Beautiful collection here of warms and cools for your collection of greens. So what do we have to share with you? The blocks this month are the turtle in the paper piece, as well as the embroidered block that you can see on the screen there. Now let's look to see what club members will get in your pack. So we already looked at the thread box here for the 40 weight thread in these beautiful collections. If you prefer, we do have the version in 50 weight as well, which was labeled Dolomite Green. Same colors, so it really is helpful to have both sets in both the 50 and the 40. We have put together a selection of solids for you in a light, medium, and a dark. The paper piecing pattern is the Endangered Species by Sea Turtle by Cassandra Beavers. Cassandra used a yellow background, and we are going to be using the same grunge background for all of ours. For this particular month, you are going to need your light, your medium, and your dark green. Your dark blue, now we had used the dark blue in the red panda last month, so you should be able to have whatever scraps you had left over from that dark blue, as well as your scraps of black. And then the light yellow is your background. So really all you need to do is get about a ½ yard to 5/8 of a yard of a background. So let's take a peek here to see what we have going on. Well, I didn't do all my homework, but I wanted to be able to share with you the process. So this one right here, this is piece A, okay? So we have several different foundations again. Now this piece A, we have 4 different pieces that we pre-taped together. I showed you, I believe last month, how to tape those together. And you can see here that piece 20 is this giant near triangle. Okay, so I thought that what would be really important for you to see here is a method for cutting a more fabric efficient piece. For the cutting instructions that I've been giving you giant rectangles. So if we were to make a rectangle out of this, let's just look at this here because I want to show you kind of how I come up with my sizes. So if I were to tell you how much of a rectangle, I would say, well, make sure you're a little bit off the edge here, and then come a half to a quarter down. So that'd be 11 inches by, oh goodness, 21. Okay, so 11 by 21, that would be the rectangle that you would put on, and then you would trim off the edges, and then you would have bias all on the side. One technique when you are paper piecing is to template cut. So I have provided for club members here a cutting template. Now the piece of paper needs to be pretty giant, so I have put it into 4 sections here that you get to put together. And you can see my hand-drawn registration marks, okay? So how would we put this together? I'm just going to quick go through this. All right, so I take my paper scissors. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm cutting off part of my registration here. All right. Then we're going to line this up. I'm going to pretend like we're back in arts and crafts here. Da, da, da. Okay, you can see that. I'm going to take my Scotch tape here. Scotch tape is always handy to have by your cutting table in your sewing room. Okay, then I'm going to cut close to here. All right, I'm lining it up here, here, here. Oh, look at that. It's like I've done this before. What are we building? I think I made too many puzzles over the past several months. What do you think? Okay, so then I'm cutting. So do you see how when I'm cutting off just a little bit so that it's going to be clear of how I need to hook it all up. And in case if you got mixed up, I had 4 unique registration marks. Trying to be fancy. That looks pretty good. Okay, so 2 options. You could, so here, this is for a rectangle of fabric that is 14 by 19. And when we're going to be cutting it, we're going to cut this first and then this second so we can get 20 and 19 out. The beauty of cutting your fabric like this is that when you put it on, it's going to be on grain, okay? So that means that at the edges, this isn't going to stretch. So that's really cool. And then you have a nice efficient piece of fabric left over here that you can use for cutting some of your smaller background pieces. All right, so option number 1 is you could put it together like this, and then you could lay it on top of the wrong side of the fabric and tape it down or pin it down and then cut through it. The more elegant way of doing it, because I just want to share with you all sorts of different options to add things to your toolbox, would be to trace it onto freezer paper. Okay, so I traced it here, and what you would do is you would lay your freezer paper on top, and this is just freezer paper like what you get at the grocery store. It comes on the roll. I think it's Reynolds freezer paper. And then I traced it. The cool thing about freezer paper is it has this waxy property, so it has a temporary adhesive. What do I mean? I am going to show you. I'm going to bring over my portable pressing board here. I have a piece of background that we're going to give a quick press to. And I had mentioned on my instructions there that you wanted to have the wrong side up. So this is the right side. It's probably pretty hard to tell with this grunge, but this is the printed side and this is the wrong side. So we're having the wrong side up. I'm going to give it a little press first. Of course, I have pre-starched all of my background here. I just had it sitting in a little corner, so then I'm going to lay this on. All right, and if you had wanted to, you can trim this off slightly first. Why don't we do that so that we can be the most efficient here? Find my little paper scissors. How many of you have ever used freezer paper in your sewing? We used it last week in our Moda University for making circles, applique circles, and we're going to be using it here for our freezer paper, or for our foundation paper piecing for our templates. Okay, so I'm doing a little press here, and you can see how it's now hugging the fabric. And if I had wanted to, I could have cut a rectangle first, okay? But I just chose to take my chunk of fabric. All right, so now that it's lightly pressed down, I am now going to take my ruler and trim. So I'm going to come right on the line here. And it might be out of screen, that top part, just so that I can cut to the bottom edge of my fabric. And I'm going to cut right through that paper, okay? I'm cutting around first. Rogue piece of tape there. Three and four. Okay, now I have this beautiful piece here. Now it says first cut, second cut, third cut. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my ruler on top of this as best as I can. If I am a slight bit off, it's not going to be the end of the world. Okay, this is my piece 20. Now I'm going to position this here. This is my piece 19 after I cut off this little chunk. You don't have to cut off this little guy, but I just thought it was clearer for placement if I took them off. And now you have the rest of this that you can subcut into your small pieces, your 1x2s, etc. So this gives you just a little bit more fabric efficient cutting than your rectangles how you would cut them, because if you had started with your giant piece that was a rectangle, you wouldn't be able to cut off all of those other small pieces that you need until after the block was done. So that is my tip for that. You can see here how that works. I still have the paper on the top of it, and we can leave it on until we're ready to position it in place so that you don't forget which piece this was or which one was the scrap, okay? I'm just going to look back at our large piece with our sea turtle here, our A piece, okay? And when you are working with it, since it is such a large piece, I've taped them in place here. When you are positioning it before you stitch it, I do recommend that you use glue and glue it in your seam allowance before you stitch, because with this being a giant bias edge, you don't want it to distort. All right, so this is piece 20 and this is piece 19. So you can see that we have it positioned here on the grain. All right, so that is a different way to cut out large pieces. Now what we're going to do is that we are going to have a little refresher, and I am going to piece with you. Just going to set this aside here. I'm going to piece with you Unit B, okay? So Unit B is a smaller piece here for our sea turtles. We have green, dark blue, and background. And for those of you who are club members who have received the papers or will receive the papers tomorrow when you come and pick them up, I've been giving you a color version of this. So you don't want to be ironing on the color version, right? Because that will, you'll transfer the wax to your ironing board and then you're going to be really sad. But the color is really important for being able to identify the color placement of these small units. So this is that medium green, this is the dark blue, and then the yellow here is the background. And the background, we're using the white grunge, but of course you can use anything. All right, so I have stacked my pieces 1 through 8, and when I keep them all organized, I have them with a little wonder clip here, stacked 1 through 8 for my units, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to start with my green, which is piece number 1. So how many of you have been working on any of these? Have you been finding it easy? Have you been needing to, are you needing a little bit more basic instruction? Will this little unit be helpful? Okay, I positioned my number 1 here with the seam allowance. Now I'm going to use my add a quarter ruler, lining up here on my number 2 line, folding this back. If you want, I could be very good here. I have this positioned kind of odd, so I should probably be good and move him back into place here. There. Eyeing upside down while I'm talking to you is a little challenging. My add a quarter ruler, here we go. For these little guys, that 6 inches is really helpful. For the longer one, like this, the A unit, having a 12-inch as well can be really a nice addition. I'm going to use the dark blue here. And I like to do that little dab of glue here in my seam allowance to hold everything in place. I'm going a little quick here. I need to talk slower in my head. Okay, I have him lined up. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine. Remember, when you are working on this, you want to make sure to reduce your stitch length to a 1.5. Having that nice sharp needle is very helpful. And I start before and go a little beyond where I need to go. And wouldn't you know, today I brought my little snips. So I don't have to use the giant paper scissor. Yay! Ooh, look at this. I have a gnarly guy here. So you want to avoid the gnarly end with a starter or an ender, or just holding your thread. In this case, I'm just going to trim him away because I'm not going to redo him. Does that make sense? Okay, but you want to avoid these because they add extra bulk. We are going to come over here and to our overhead. I'm finger pressing here. I know I have my little roll and press somewhere, but I might have put them in a weird place to not be able to see them. So I won't torture you, but I'll position this one here. And then for the number 3, I'm going to pull this back. And when I pull it back, I could pop a couple stitches. I'm going to use my add a quarter ruler. Cut away. And then I am going to use this piece here. Quarter-inch seam allowance, my little glue, and let's pop right over to my sewing machine. In this month's cutting instructions that I'm working on here, I'm trying to give you a little bit more space because I know that there's a few of you who have said I've been cutting it a little too close. So I'm being a little bit more generous in my cutting instructions this month. And look, we did better. Da-da-da. Number 3. Everything disappears when I just pop over to my little sewing station. Never know. Oh, here it is. Frank the elf laid it there for me and I didn't see it. There we go. So this is really nice. Thank you, Frank. Frank's not an elf. He doesn't want to be called an elf. Helpful husband. That's the word. Okay, so flipped it over, used our add a quarter ruler. Now this one here, this one's super tiny and you need a 3/4 or a 1/2 inch. I just had a little scrap here. This is 3/4 by an inch. If you have a piece like this, there's no need to cut it smaller. You can just go ahead and add it. The tiny ones are the really hard ones to make sure you have that right side if you're using a white on white like this. So having good light is always helpful for identifying that. Okay, we're going to go back over to our sewing machine now. Okay, so make sure that we have our tails here. And so remember I said, you know, a leader or ender. So the other thing that you can do is that if you can stay organized, this is a really good thing if you can actually construct 2 units at a time, alternating pieces, so that you can always have one in the machine and one that is hanging out as that lead to hold these guys back, okay? Okay, so I'm rolling this back here, And you see here how I have the layers? Don't worry about the layers. Okay, so this is our 5. We're just building and there's a little bit of bulk. That's all right. Gonna roll this back. Ta-da. And we are on to number 5. Okay, number 5. Little bit of glue. So this week, another exciting thing that's been happening in the quilty world is that it is virtual quilt market this week. So I have had the opportunity for watching some videos from some of our vendors and talking with some designers. The fabric reps have been coming out or sending me things so we can see all of the exciting stuff that's coming. Oh my goodness, it's just so much fun shopping for fabric. You know, it's my favorite part of the job. Frank would agree that I really, really like shopping for fabric. So just say if any of your significant others ever complain and say, your closet is too full, you could say, just talk to Frank. And Frank will put some perspective in things. We have 4,000 square feet of delicious fabric upstairs. Okay, so see how nicely this is coming together? Let's hop over here for number 6. So what kind of things do you want to see in the coming months? If you've been seeing any beautiful fabrics in social media, let me know. I know Yolanda, you've been really great by sending me over some great stuff. And she's been asking, oh, are you getting this? Oh, are you getting this? And sometimes I get to see something for the first time, and other times it's just something that I've already seen. So one of the ones she asked me about today was Hoot Hoot by Kim Schaefer. So local designer Kim Schaefer has a really spectacular fabric line with bright owls that is coming out, I think, early summer. She also, in this latest quilt market release, I got to see some really fun sewing themed fabrics that she has on the way. So that is really exciting. All right, so here's this tiny little sliver. So Cassandra has been doing such a great job with being able to get some nice detail in here. This particular one actually has less pieces than last month. Yay! So, but we got to learn that new skill with the large piece. But I think this one has like 20 to 25 less pieces than that red panda did. So that's good news. So it's not like every month we're going to be adding 50 more pieces. So we won't be at like 300 pieces by the last block. That's good. But we're always up for a challenge, right? Always trim away all these extra little guys. Back over to the pressing board here. So it's just getting in a rhythm. Oh, something that I need to ask you all. So we are going to be doing a special order with Aurifil. So if you had needed, okay, this is calling all club members. If you need any cones, we are doing an order direct with Aurifil, so let us know. We can do some special orders of those cones so that, because that's something we don't typically stock. So let us know. We'd be more than happy to hook you up. Let me know by the 31st of March. Any Aurifil cones or what else? Or thread boxes. Things that we would be ordering ones of. The Curious and Curiouser will be later in April. That's going to be a really cool special Tula thread box. We ordered several of those, and I know some of you already pre-ordered them. We have 6 that will still be available and up for grabs. Okay, 7. Let's come back to the sewing machine. And the other thing that I've seen that you've liked with some of the things that we've been showing you is that you seem to be enjoying some of our pre-ordering of kits. So I am going to be sharing with you some select market kits for pre-ordering. All right. And last but not least, we got this guy here. Yay! So I think the key to all of these guys is just organization, so that you can have a fun and relaxing time while you're piecing. All right. So here you go, Unit B. And what I've been doing as I make them is I just leave them. I don't trim them up right away. I just leave them and then move on to the next one. Okay, so let us see what else I got for you tonight. Make sure that you ask any questions on the paper piecing. I hope that that little extra bit was helpful. I know that we've had some other times that we've shown you that, but for some of you this is totally, totally new, and the shape of this can be really challenging. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I showed you a little step-by-step there. Okay. Other things that I want to share with you, and why else might you use 40 weight thread, is for applique. And Lisa has been working this past year on the Zootropolis quilt, and we have an early peek of this month's blocks. She's been working ahead, and we have the beautiful sloth and squirrel that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to take them off the board here. And let's look at them overhead. Look at them, aren't they cute? So cute. So Lisa has been matching her threads to each of the blocks here. And so as you are building your thread collection, you can see how you can match them. Now, they aren't always a perfect match, but it is you have the different shades that you're using. So here, like in this purple, she uses 3 different purples, and then the black. And for this super cute squirrel, we have this caramely brown, the darker here, and then this beige, and that chestnut color. When you are working with applique, you are tracing and using fusible web in this particular case. The fusible web that Lisa is using is Steam-A-Seam Light. And Steam-A-Seam, if you've never used it, is a web adhesive that has paper on both sides. We have it in the box in 12, 18, and 20, I believe, 24-inch rolls. And so you can buy it by the quarter yard, third of a yard, or yards at a time. A really nice thing about the Steam-A-Seam here is that when you trace, so you trace, and then you rough cut, you place on your fabric, you cut out on the line, and then what you're able to do is you are able to remove the one side, and it has a tacky property here. And here I'm just trying to pull back an edge here. So like Wonder Under is not sticky until it's heat activated. Here you can hear that it's sticky. It's sticky, so not permanent, but there's that little tack to it. So it helps hold it in place until you iron it down permanently. The Steam-A-Seam Light is something that you will want to do some sort of stitching around to secure your piece with it. And another thing that we use is a stabilizer on the back. So the stabilizer that we love in the store is called Totally Stable. It comes on the roll, and the Totally Stable has that little waxy property on it. I don't know if you can see the little bit of shine here, and that's kind of like freezer paper, okay? But it is not freezer paper in that it tears away more easily. So this is a tear away stabilizer that you would tear away when you're ready to construct all of your quilt together. But it helps keep everything nice and flat so that you don't have puckering when you are stitching. It is nice and lightweight. The last thing I want to share with you in the applique world is our Schmetz needles that we use that have a non-stick property to it. So these super non-stick needles help glide through your adhesive so that your needles don't gum up. And this particular one, the 8012, is perfect for your 40 weight threads for being able to see all of your decorative stitching through your adhesive. We have them in 8012s, in 7010s, and in 9014s. When you're appliquing, you can use the 40 on top. And if you had wanted to, if you have matching 50, you can use 50 in the bottom if you wanted to have different weight. 50 will last longer in your bobbin, and then having the same color will then avoid any issues if you have any tension issues around any curves. So stop in and see all of the beautiful blocks in the Zootropolis quilt project that Lisa has been working on. We have it hanging in the foyer, and we are now up here. So we have a few more animals that we will be covering yet before she'll be able to assemble the whole quilt. I'm so excited. So she has these ready, and actually these blocks would be available for purchase as soon as tomorrow. Yay! I mentioned needles, and I am so excited. Okay, so Schmetz needles, that's the needles that we carry in the store. As we're getting ready for market and different things, I started talking to my friend Rhonda. So Rhonda is the director of marketing over at Schmetz, and she is going to be doing a virtual needle class for us in June. Now, I know that seems forever away, but it really isn't. She's been doing these different virtual needle classes and sharing all sorts of great knowledge with us. We are going to be starting sign-ups. I'm going to have information posted on our website. And then with that, we also will have some special packages so that you can have a sampler pack of all sorts of great needles, as well as the cool little pocket reference, which is really, really valuable. So be looking for that. So that will be Tuesday, June 15th at 7 p.m. Very exciting. I shared with you that I have been participating in Virtual Quilt Market. And so you'll be seeing in the coming days some pre-order kit options, some things that I've seen. If you've seen anything, make sure to share that with me, because I'd love to make sure that I can be bringing in the things that you are wanting. Of course, we can't bring in everything, but it really is helpful when I can hear from you what types of things that you're looking for. Now, before we let you go today, we do have a little bit of show and tell. And so first I wanted to share with you these great embroideries. So Jackie Crawford, who is a club member, she has been stitching these up to share with, because she knows that I haven't been sharing them. So let's look at them overhead. So I think I shared with you the Sumatran elephant that she had done on a grunge base. She's been stitching out a few of them every single month. And so you can see in here the 3 different grays, and then there's a variety of greens in here. And so if you haven't started yet, you now have the thread to do all of the gray and all of the green with your thread club threads. And then the red panda, oh, super cute. So you can see here that it mimics our block that we had pieced, that we shared last month. So thank you so much, Jackie, for all of your help. With this, I do have a special thread of Aurifil as a little fun prize for you when you come and pick up your club supplies. And then on our patchwork party, Betsy Krakauer had shared her paper pieced red panda. She used the deep teal background. She's going to be having a mixed background quilt, similar to how Cassandra Beavers is putting everything together. And that is just so much fun, and I am so excited to see that. So make sure to share all of your blocks in our patchwork party. That is our Facebook group that is growing and growing and growing, and is a great place to share all of your goodies. Betsy, I have a great spool of Aurifil thread for you as well as a prize. Yay! So make sure you share your Aurifil show and tell with us. It can be one of our club projects. If you've been working on other applique, I would love to see that. See some quilting that you've done, just something that we can share here in our Aurifil club for show and tell. That would be so exciting to see that. I would like to thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun too. Make sure to ask questions, share this information with your friends, join Patchwork Party, and please, please, please share your show and tell so that we can see it in an upcoming club presentation. Thanks so much. Happy quilting. See you soon.